G'day guys, Clint Adams here, and we are recording episode 23 of The Full Landscape. I have Lachlan Jeffries here. He's the executive director of Jefferies. This was one that I've been really looking forward to, and I hope you guys get some benefit out of it. It's probably a lot higher level considering the size of the business, but hopefully there's some snippets in there that you can take for all businesses. Hope you enjoy.
Y'all ready to turn it up tonight?
For, I guess, everyone that doesn't know you, that's outside of our industry, if you just want to give us a bit of an introduction about, I guess, your background, even as far back as schooling, if you think it's relevant.
Yep.
And then a bit about Jefferies.
Mm-hmm. So me and schooling. So
Yep.
schooling wasn't a good, I wasn't a strong school student, but I went to Urbray, so that's my connection to agriculture and soil and those kind of things. But the best thing about high school for me was that I lived at West Lakes and Urbray was on the other side of town, so there was an adventure to
go through the city.
It was a few years where it took to that. That I'd get to the city and wouldn't keep going. So, and this is back in the 80s when you didn't have SMS and email and all that sort of stuff that your parents got when you weren't at school on the time. So, but that, I think that sort of just that freedom and that, having as 12, 13-year-old sort of catch the train, all that sort of stuff was a real,
So that was what we would call year 8 now.
So
13.
So real. Yeah, out of comfort zone. I'm a comfort zone sort of person, so that was a real, out of comfort zone. I can remember my first day school catching coming back all by myself and walking the steps of Parliament House, and just like it was my first time of just first times
the
of
real world.
Freedom to that. So, but unfortunately, with 2.5 hours of commuting sort of every day and then school, the last thing I wanted to do when I got home was homework. So, yeah, I wasn't. I think I did learn some entrepreneurial skills there, sort of, like to, how to get the most done with the least amount of, sort of effort and time and those kind of things. So, yeah, I failed year 10.
Were you smart enough for school though?
So I didn't find school difficult.
You just didn't want to do it.
Yeah, it was just, there was too many other things to do. So, Fridays, I'd catch the train to Wingfield and go to work with Dad, and I'd go be at work
instead of going to school.
No, like at the end of the school. Yep. So I wouldn't.
So school might finish at 3 or whatever.
Yeah,
and shoot straight to Wingfield.
So just go. I used to catch the train to Dry Creek, and back in those days, Wingfield, Dry Creek, there was nothing around, and walk across the paddocks to, to get to work. Because that's what I think it was a combination of wanting to be with your dad, being a son, and all that sort of stuff, but also I loved. Work. I loved the equipment and all of that sort of.
And your parents were still together?
Yeah.
So you lived with your dad in the house? Yep.
Yeah, but you didn't see Dad. Like, Dad left before you got up,
Yep.
and he got home generally after you'd gone to bed. So
you might be lucky to catch him if you were still awake, or
so to get to him, you had to get to
go to him.
You go to work. Yep. Go to work with him. So I then took my way into year 11. I can still remember the meeting with the deputy headmaster, but then the year 11 sort of followed through with the same sort of themes. Mum had a rule which I hated at the time, was we couldn't go straight from school to the family business.
That was one of the questions I really wanted to dive into.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and obviously school, so it was university or go work for someone else.
So you couldn't have even worked as a yard hand. I don't even know what context that is now, but you couldn't have even done a part-time. Could you have worked while at school, or they would just like go do something?
No, as your first
so you
gig.
Can't
so I worked weekends.
So
So my pathway was to try and get an apprenticeship. I was into cars at the time, and I got in year 11 I got a apprenticeship.
A mechanical?
Mechanic, at a BMW specialist, actually not far from here, around Nelson Street, Stepney. It's no longer there anymore.
Messing around, straight to the BMWs.
Yeah, well, as always, it was a friend of a friend.
Yeah, that's it. That's life.
And so I started that, but I worked weekends at Jefferies and worked there during the week, and I took about 18 months to wear Mum down, and and I
So that rule. So where do you sit in the ages of your siblings?
So there's two of us,
Yep.
and I'm the older one.
So you had to pave the way. So if she was going to break the rule for you, it was for everyone. It wasn't like...
Well, I don't think she broke the rule, because I think I did a year. I did 18 months.
Yeah.
And being a first year apprentice, you learn a lot of,
Yeah.
a lot of stuff,
Yep.
important stuff. And working in a family business is, there's good and bad. There's in a family there's the sections of...
One of my questions: what are the best and worst things about working in a family business? So.
Yeah. Well, I suppose you've got those that think the family members get an easy path.
So the staff that are like, well, here we go.
Yeah, but then there's also those in family business will know that actually family members, new family members, you have to be twice. You have to work twice as hard, or whatever, to sort of, in that sense. And look, I don't think my dad really. I don't think he really thought a lot about that. So that wasn't necessarily the point. But being a first year motor mechanic, where you're mopping the floors, you're getting the lunches, it was a great experience to work, in that level. And then when you're in, Jefferies, had probably 15, 20 people at that time. So he's
compared to what now?
60, 65.
Yep.
Yeah. So you knew everyone, and probably 4 or 5 of them were relatives then. Anyhow,
Well, that number, you as a director, you can still talk to everyone every week, and still see people.
But also at that level, you could see like whether Dad worked 12 hours a day or 24 hours a day. He made a difference, if you know what I mean.
Because he was 5% of the population.
Like, so he would work in the yard all day and then go to Mount Gambier overnight in the truck and bring
and cart
bring stuff back. So he made a difference. But when you get to 30, 40 people, it's actually it actually is the opposite.
It's an operation.
It does. You need to be there to sort of guide and lead and support people. So. I think with Mum's rule, she stuck to it, and I think it was, on reflection, it was a great experience. And my kids are too young to sort of have those conversations, but I think definitely getting out in the outside world, but maybe a bit more strategically, as in trying to work out what they want to do if they want to have an interest in the business would be really important.
Because you won't impose that on them for your children.
No, I think I think you've got to get out, and I think like the wine sector does it great. Kids go and do vintages and work for other. Well,
Cooper's I think had a rule as well that they had to go work somewhere else.
Yeah.
I spoke to Carl Heine about that, because obviously Carl is in a similar situation. Obviously, I think more generational than did your dad start Jefferies?
No, so like Jefferies is multi. Yeah,
3 or 4.
Well, so the Jefferies family arrived. We're jumping around a bit, which I'm very good at doing.
Normal. I'm fine with that. Don't stress.
The Jefferies family arrived in Adelaide in 1842.
Okay.
And they had a little shop at Brighton, and then soon after they got land at Edinburgh and started farming. Yep. And that the next generation, there was 13 kids, and our line is the last one, so you don't get much of the farm. But predominantly we were farmers initially, and then sort of in the 1920s depression, it was like whatever we could do to get food on the table. Had some trucks and stuff like that, so cart manure from stables to nurseries was a practice, and that's probably sort of the evolution of the current Jefferies business. But we farm now, so we very much hold on to that 1842 sort of history.
So the farming, is that for research or for genuine business, or
no? Well, like
I'm kind of across the business. Obviously, I've spent some time selling the product a decade ago, more now. Yeah, I'm aware of. Is it potatoes?
Well, potatoes, carrots, onions, but lucerne or fodder is what we sort of do now. So we'll grow over 1,000 tonne of fodder this year. So it's all at Buckland Park. So it's a small part of the overall business. So is it trialling, or what you were saying before?
Research.
Like there's so many white coat trials you can sort of set up, and we try and do sort of commercial, as in can you make a business model out of this. So it's really not as in a scientific trialing. It's about can you make the business model,
which is probably handy for any business development that you're doing. You can go and go, well, this isn't just a lab. We've actually done it.
I think in any business, you know yourself. You look at who are the best people in that business and who buys off of them. And okay, well, in farmers, they look over the fence. What are they doing over the fence? And that's sort of how that works. So I think that's your best way of influencing you.
Golf course superintendents are like farmers.
Yeah.
What are you using on your greens?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's exactly the same. Same sort of setup. So. But I love it that Buckland Park is only 5 kilometres from Edinburgh, so where our family started farming. It's near the Edinburgh Raft Brace. There's a church there they built
because there wasn't a church.
Well, I think the process is you get land, you build a church, then you build a house. Like it's that's what they did in those days. So and they're buried there. There's a cemetery there, and my wife and I actually got married in the little church. So
that's cool.
It got renovated in 1942.
So do you guys still own the church?
The church, it's on
Crown land.
It was on. The only reason it survived and you get vandalised is on there's weapons research land out there. So it's Commonwealth land, so you couldn't. First time I went to it was for a Dad's auntie's funeral, when I was 27 or 28. I'd heard stories about it, but I'd never been there. But it's now part of Edinburgh Park, so you can get to it.
But it's protected, which is good.
But it's it's great to have that sort of history and that connected in that sort of in that sort of area.
It's interesting talking to people that have got that kind of history. Like obviously Carl's the same.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know history. I've got history. Everyone's got history, but I just don't know it.
Yeah.
There's no multi-generational, which I'm fine with. I guess it gives me an opportunity to create it. But so you went to Urbray, didn't finish year 11?
Well, I finished it first time, but I had to go back and give it another go. But only 3 days, and then I.
Yep. So have you done no further education since then? Did you have an itch to scratch at all, or that was it? You're happy to?
So I did in my early 20s. I did a management course at Australian Institute of Management. Yep. So I think general management,
like a certificate.
Yeah, it's a long time ago. So and that was awesome. It was really I've done lots of different things, and they seem to fall just. They're right for when you need it. So
the student, what is it? The teacher appears when the student.
So I can remember one of the things we did there was on negotiation, and it was as boring as all hell. It was like you had to do a lot of role playing, as in I own this.
Sell me this pen,
but I don't really own it, and that it was quite frustrating. But it was I still use stuff today from learning from those kind of things. So
and this is before YouTube, podcasting.
Yeah, exactly.
You're only going to learn from that in real life. Yeah.
No, but today I love going to. I've got an interest area, and I'll go and see a speaker, or that kind of thing. So my interest and keenness is in just general business operating.
I get that.
But a couple of weeks ago I was in the US at the US Composting Council conference, and that's really specifically on our business. It's mega interesting, and anything from how microbes work in the soil to managing motivation of a team in the composting business to all
machinery.
Sorts of, it's America. You can't go there
without machinery. Was it in Las Vegas?
Thankfully, it wasn't in Las Vegas. It's been in Las Vegas, so it was in Phoenix, Arizona. So it was beautiful and 22 degrees or something like that. It was quite nice.
I've never been to America, but a lot of the golf. I mean, we've got irrigation and golf related things happen over there. And I think it would have been nice for me to do a Vegas trip in my 20s, but not in my 30s.
Yeah,
definitely not in my 40s.
I took a customer with us this year. I took to the conference to sort of open his mind to that sort of thing, and he was desperate to go to Vegas, and he did tap it on because it was not far away from where we were. But I said I recommend everyone goes to Vegas once in their life. But
I think it's on the list. I've got a 5-year-old and 2 2-year-olds, so for me any travel now, I try to keep pretty tight. We're in a position I could go to Vegas, no worries, and Celeste probably wouldn't be too fussed about it. But I think that it should have been before kids, or maybe when they're a bit older. At the moment, I feel like I'm going to Denmark. That's a 7-day return, and I spoke to Celeste about it the other day, and she's like, if you want, you can go do some other stuff and add another week to it. I'm like, I just can't see it being, you see how hard it is getting 2 2-year-olds ready in the morning. I don't want to put that on her for 2 weeks when.
Yeah, you don't want to give an inch, take a mile. And look, I'm very much I'm no good at doing both. I go away for
business.
for
okay.
holidays,
Yep.
and then you go away for work. And if you do the both, it's one sort of.
I just treat the work like a holiday. So
yeah.
I'm the worst person. Like this trip I'm going to in Denmark. I saw the itinerary yesterday, and I was like, oh no, it's like tour, like factory tour, educational. I'm like, I'm gonna fall asleep. I can't, like, because I was smart enough to finish school as well. I was the same. I was like, I got too many other things I want to do. And I would get tired because I've got this jittery ADD, whatever you want to call it. It's not diagnosed, but I got to go to this. I got to go to this. So it'll be interesting to see how I handle. It's all new, so it's probably going to be exciting. But
Yeah, I think that'll be. But then it's a different time zone, so you may struggle to
I haven't even thought about that.
Like that sort of.
And I'm flying 20 hours. I'm there for 5 days, and I fly another 20 hours.
Yeah, well, that's so the conference I went to was 4 days, and so it was 5 days in a hotel and 2 nights in an airplane. So that's
which is exactly what I'll be doing, and I'm going to be doing travel inside Denmark while there as well. So there'll be different hotel to hotel to hotel to hotel.
But it's just awesome to get out of the shop, but into work, and I struggle to sleep when I'm away on those sorts because you just wake up in the night.
You got all these
just
ideas.
Constantly writing.
I'll take a camera with me.
Writing stuff down. And
I did a trip to China. Was it in July? I think, and I took a camera and vlogged as much as I could. I'm still learning. I'm getting better. I can't use that camera very well, which is DK's probably thankful for. It keeps his job security.
It's got no fingerprints over there.
Well, we took the camera out and did some filming on. We volunteered at the Women's Open at Grange on Sunday, so I got one of the other guys to film, and DK's like, I think the lens needs cleaning. But it's just little things like that you think about. So, so you went into the family business. So this is out of the apprenticeship? So what year would this have been roughly?
So it's 30 years this year.
30 years?
30
That's
years
crazy.
this year. No, so it's,
I know what 10 years feels like.
Yeah, so I left school, did 18 months, and got there 30 years this year. And
get a watch?
I don't know. I haven't got there yet. So
they might surprise you.
Yeah, I did. I could think 20 years. I got this book, the picture book of all of my time. So
they made you something? Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so one of the team members and everyone signed it, and that was it was great. It was.
Imagine having a team that good, DK, where people make your books. Like if you had a media staff member that could put something together like that. Really.
Yeah. If only.
Maybe the next media person.
I'm sure it's coming.
They got me a bottle of scotch.
Well, they know you well.
So it was a 10-year-old bottle as well. So it was right. Well, we drank half of it yesterday.
Yeah, it looks like it.
So what was your role when you first came into the business? How does that?
Look there wasn't, when sort of you got 15, 20 people, there's not.
So there's no pyramid.
There's just get in there and do what you needed to do. Like our DNA, like Dad's DNA, is on tools. Like he's just, he's in the tractors, in the trucks, and all that sort of stuff. And that's what we, I sort of liked as well. So. Yeah, just doing a bit of everything. I did a while doing deliveries, like in the sort of little trucks doing deliveries,
kind
which I really enjoyed.
Cube-ish.
Yeah, the like Daihatsus, but do lots of bag runs in those days. You fill up for the day with bags and drop 2 bags to this, this garden and that kind of thing. So, yeah, doing that. My cousin, older cousin, he sort of ran the office, I suppose. In those days, my auntie did the books. And all that sort of worked, and then I fell off of a machine and broke my wrist, and I thought oh, he's 2 weeks off.
You thought it would be 2 weeks?
Well, that's what I thought. I've got 2 weeks off, and Dad said, no, you can go to the office now and learn the computer and learn the computers and learn that process, and that was probably the beginning of that.
Of your current role?
Yeah, well. It was a transition. So Dad was very much, on the tools. He had an office, but it was very rare to see him, actually.
You're just happy at doing that?
Yeah, I think it's just that's where he was comfort. Yep. And he's extremely bright, so he doesn't, not like me, needs to sit down and think about things. He's just running and doing that kind of, that kind of thing. So, and my cousin, was dead set on travelling around the world, and he actually, is an Italian citizen now and has lived there for, this is, obviously 30 years ago, and lived there. So there was sort of a void, I suppose, in the business, there, and being, sort of still have it now, but when you're young, you've got that energy about wanting to grow the business and that kind of get your teeth into that and those kind of things. So, and Dad, I don't think he had any plan with what the process was for me, but he didn't get in the way, if that made sense. So you felt
he let you go, enabled you to be you.
Yeah, I'm someone who got to learn from your mistakes. I've learnt to try and learn from others' mistakes first, because it's much cheaper and less painful. Yeah. But making those mistakes is a way to learn it, or doing it yourself. Yep. But I always felt that he was there. So when it went wrong, I had to fix it, but he rolled his sleeves up and came and helped. So versus
like learning from your mistakes wasn't going to be as damaging because you had him there to help.
Well, I just felt, it probably wasn't really a conscious thing. But now to reflect back. Yeah, reflecting back that, I think it was really exceptional for him that he sort of kept out the way but was there. Yep. And then he didn't go, I told you, told you so, that was wrong, blah, blah, blah. He just, nothing was really said. He just got in and just fixed it, or said, you've learnt that lesson, or get on and, you'll do, you'll learn from that experience and those kind of things. So, and also we brought other people into the business. So, we had an accountant who'd been long-term Dad's, accountant, and, he was exceptional just to give me time for we'd meet at his office at 5 o'clock in the morning when we were trying to write our first business plan, and we'd do from 5 to 6:30, and then we'd go off to work, and we had this business plan sort of template to write, and I can remember it was just it was way too much of detail back when you had to have volume of stuff like that.
Especially, it's funny that because the banks want that for if you need finance for anything.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever written a business plan.
Yeah,
I just do it.
Yeah, look, I think
there's some good in having one, but
so we had the accountant, and we brought in sort of other people. We started a board, probably in the mid to late 90s with external people on the.
Do you know why? Board. Did it feel necessary, or it was just what everyone else was doing, or because
it wasn't.
I can't see me having one.
Yeah, so we got it. I would have said. Because Dad was, sort of on the plant, we didn't really have any, so it was sort of mentoring for me, and it wasn't a family member, if that makes sense, especially like, you're pretty close family, so you're sort of, having dinner with them, it's just everything rolls into one, so you needed to have that third person to complain about, all due respect, complain about your dad, and sort of, bounce and guide you in that sort of thing, so, and I think it's, like we had a family business. Mum wasn't working in the business. She was a school teacher. So, business was, not saying she, so business, she didn't get the business thing. She was a people, teaching.
Which is, I think, is great. My wife has no involvement, and I think it's healthy because then you can go home and it's just husband and wife. It's not two directors still doing business into the night.
Yeah, look, I think that's a unique, there are those partnerships that have worked really, really well, but I think people clearly have their areas of expertise. I think it's a real challenge, but I think it's really important for, your significant other to understand, for them to understand it, because, when you go to Denmark, or when you, when you got, you're up in the middle of the night because you're stressing about, paying people or whatever. There's that fine line between having, you don't want them to stress as well.
Yeah.
But
that was my thing. I didn't want her to worry.
Yeah.
So there was periods. I was talking to DK about it before you got here. There were periods where I was up at night, just like I've got to find this much money by now, and I just didn't need her to be stressed about it because she'd take it on even harder. But I get what you're saying, and I think I'm talking to her more about business now than I did 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's a partnership and it's a journey, and you want to, I assume she's got her stuff that she's doing.
Well, she works. I mean, she'd work full time. I think she could work full time. They wanted her to work full time. She loves her job. Her boss loves her. Like, it's not for me. But then she'll talk about her day. And So for us, it was sort of like trying to, I suppose, get off the plant and you get a bit more strategic and think and give us that discipline. Just reporting and stuff. I can remember again
our accountant at the time, he's passed away, was probably my first real mentor, love him dearly, but I can remember like 9 months after the end of the financial year, he was working through the profit and loss for that previous financial year, not 9 months earlier, and he was teaching me about, it and all that kind of stuff. And firstly, I'm going, why are we doing this? Like, why are we getting this information? Like,
so late.
So late. The other thing I remember was like we'd made $800 or something like that, sort of like you do a whole year's work,
And
but,
we make that money,
all of that effort and those kind of things. So was to bring discipline into, instead of just being busy fools, just flat out working. Makes sense now that
you explain it that way.
And I like that pressure,
yep.
Either
to be accountable to a board.
Yeah, and that people, like, it amazes me, we've had probably 10 non-executive, so non-family member or executive board members, maybe 8 or 10, and for a whole range of different people. And we're a small to medium enterprise, so we're not paying a fortune for executive directors, and we want good people involved. Yep. But like how, if you ask, like, people like to help people who want to be helped.
Yep. Yeah, I get that.
We've had and still got great connections with people in that thing, and they're, so it's. I think it's been exceptional. It's been a real key to what we've done, is to sort of have that pressure. So initially with Dad and myself, just to sort of like, add some sophistication and
so help. There was only 3 board members at that point, or
so we brought Mum into sort of those in those days, had an accountant, or the internal accountant was always part sort of company secretary, so that, and different versions. We'd have the senior management team, and that's another reason like we run a board now, is to give our team members that experience. So like we do a quarterly leadership event now, and the board come along, and we had 2 new team members had their first quarterly leadership event last week, and I was asking them what was it like, and one was saying, it wasn't as tough as what I thought it would be, like with the board there, they sort of expected this sort of, line up and like that kind of thing. But I think it's just great for them to experience. And
to humanise the board.
Yeah, but also to present, to have that pressure to present to.
So did you go to that?
Yeah, so that's Jefferies quarterly. Yep. So the board's there, like, we've got, it's probably 15 people in what we call the leadership team. So it's, it's not just the executive team.
There might be some staff that have been with you for 10 or 12 years.
Yeah, or people who've got potential, who are showing, and we want to give them that opportunity. Because again, I think in a small to medium enterprise, you don't have that, sort of corporate ladder to climb. You got to provide those opportunities for.
This is the same. We've got 12, and you get, when you've got hungry staff, we have to grow for that. Because otherwise I won't give them opportunity. Yeah. So I like that. I do like a landscape dinner quarterly, where I invite, say, 10 or 12 landscapers for dinner, and I try to take one member of the staff to each one of those to give them that experience. Yep. The young guys love it, because it's like, well, this is a job. Yeah. Go out for dinner with clients. Yeah. So it's something we do a yearly board lunch where we invite key, I prefer to call it stakeholders, because we don't always just have customers. Suppliers. But it might be, our industry is very regulated, so there's sort of, government sort of, local government. And you don't have problems bringing them to a lunch? So we haven't. These days with the ICAC? I think they just got to tell people what they're doing. I don't think ICAC says you can't do anything. It's just, you just got to say what you can't be hiding things or being dishonest. Yeah, because people, they need to be out in the real world, so they love the opportunity to come and talk to people. They need to understand that process. It's not about not doing anything. It's just about being upfront and honest, and nothing's behind closed doors. I wish more of them saw it that way. I think that there's a blend. We've got clients that are like, I can't take a coffee from you. Like, and then there's others that are like, no, it's right, as long as the CEO knows what we're doing. Yeah, I think it's important to have that balance and do that. And sure, there are those that are going, no, I just don't want to have I want to have any hassles. But as long as there's no implied, for me, the big one for me has been, as long as there's no implied behaviour afterwards, then it's
it's a business event, and we do a lunch, it's not a dinner or anything like that. So, I think it's really important,
Lunches are good when you get older, aren't they?
Yeah, well,
dinners can turn into a night out.
So yes, I don't know where I got up to there. We're going.
That's all right.
I'm very good at going.
I'll drag us back.
I'll
drag us back in line. So I asked you if you thought it was beneficial to have a board, because the reason I asked, and it was a selfish reason, I'm the sole director of this company, and there's no other involved finance or shareholders or anything, and so I wonder why people do that, and that makes sense. And while you were talking, I was thinking that my accountability is the camera, so I generally talk to everyone about what I'm going to do. And therefore, I have to do it. That's because people are going to start commenting. Didn't you say you were going to do this? Didn't you say you were going to do that? I was like, oh. So,
but who do you like? But you've got to have people who you go, look, because you can't just, if you're not sure what you're going to do, what do you do?
Like, who are my advisors, kind of thing. It's funny. Like, I have an accountant that I meet with monthly. I had a business coach for a while, and I kind of felt like I outgrew that coach or that coaching model, the business that they were doing it in. I've said it to DK, and I think I've said it publicly. I'm unofficially looking for a mentor, but I think that'll happen when it happens. What did I say? How do you find a person who's created a $10 to $50 million bricks and mortar inventory based business willing to work with someone as a mentor, potentially in the same space? All you can do is put it out to the universe, or start asking every time you like, can I ask you questions? So,
and why don't you do that though?
I have done that, and I haven't had a yes yet, so it's really just about.
Yeah, but I think you've got to do that. So one of our chairmen of our board was Paul Crawford, CMV Group. So it's $1 billion business, over 1,000 employees, family business, and we'd obviously interacted a bit, as in we've bought trucks through them and those.
Yeah, he was aware of you. You were aware of him.
Yeah, but I read about him in a book, and took me a few months to find someone who knew him to connect, and then it took me about 6 months to get to meet with him. And
cool.
When I met with him and asked him, do you want to join our board? In simple sort of terms and stuff like that, and I still pinch myself that
he said yes.
And he joined our board for 12 months just to sort of see how's this going to go, and then he chaired it for about 5 years, and we're still he's just it's just
family friend
but you just got to ask, and it just blows you away that people
no one asks.
People will suss out that I'll put my energy into, and ask a busy person. That's what you sort of got to try and do. So
podcasting guests is the same. It's like, how do you get more podcast guests? You ask, and people will say yes or no. Same with most things. So I haven't really got that at the moment. I meet with my accountant monthly, and we do an hour, and that's recorded as well, which I love, because we've got this diary of it'll never be presented as live content, but it's something that my children can watch, or my wife can watch a meeting if she's ever like, what happened with you watch the whole meeting. Do
you think the accountant would be answering anything differently if the camera wasn't
there? Potentially. I think he's probably getting more comfortable on camera, isn't he? He's young, dynamic. He acknowledges the importance of the media. I think it's good for him. It's probably helping him learn, because there would be certain things, but he'll talk about stuff that he knows can't be publicly, and he'll be like, you can't use this, and but we're still recording it. So there's a lot of trust there, even to DK. Because DK's got a bunch of stuff that he could use to damage me or him or whatever. So it's an interesting thing to have a camera around all the time. And then I talk to my team. So I've got a really, empathetic and intelligent and caring team whose values are in line with mine, especially my core team, who embody those values. So I'll go to them and say, look, what do you think about this? And they'll be like, that's not in line with what you said you were doing, or we're not comfortable with that. And if they're not comfortable, usually if they're all like, yeah, let's do it, then I know that it's the right decision, because I can get caught up in the speed that I move. And then like Matt, who manages this shop, he'll be like, look, you can do what you want, but I'm not comfortable with this. And then if he's a good barometer, and my wife if she's just like, this is really weird.
Yeah.
She's good with people, really good. She's like, that I don't trust that person.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, because I trust everyone. I love everyone. I'm like, yeah, no, this guy's going to help us. And she's like, I don't know about that. So, and then I guess my dad. My dad's a business person, so he's had his own business for, well, my life. And he's done well. So I talked to him. He's completely different to me though. He's got no staff. Yeah. Doesn't want staff. Hates the idea of having a team. Just works on his own, and has done the whole time. My stepmom was part of the business. She retired probably 4 or 5. It's probably longer than that, years ago now. But he's all in, obsessed. Yeah. Works. They're on holiday, like opposite to what you're saying. Yeah. All the photos that she takes of him on holiday are him on his phone. She's like working. But he can work from anywhere in the world, so he could be on holiday.
What sort of business is he?
He sells steel, so he'd sell like steel pipe for marina legs, or like for the pylons for marinas or stadiums, or just kind of specialist.
But he obviously knows what he likes and has set that up and does that.
He loves the competition. He loves the adrenaline rush he gets from being it. He's a bit of a steel speculator, so he'll hold steel for a year or 2 years that he knows someone will need. No one's got it. Someone needs it. He's the only one that's got it. So it's a very unique business. And for a long time, I was like, teach me. He's like, nah, you go do your thing.
Yeah, that's great.
So I've got that. But I think there's, like, for Waterpro to go to the next level, there's another, you know what I mean? Like, I've openly said I want to do 100 million a year. There's a point in the next 2 to 5 million where I need help.
Yeah,
I'm treading in water I've never been in every day.
Yeah, so our board is not a conventional board. It's not like, so, you know, our current chair does 2 days a week, and so he chairs, but he also
as a staff member.
Yeah,
as well.
So he builds, like, you know, when you're trying to grow a business, you can't go and get someone full time to be a CEO and a full time CFO.
You can't afford it.
Yeah, so. To try and use that, and it's a catch because you got to balance. The board needs to be out of the day to day, which we always sort of you know,
getting dragged
down into the day to day. But also, you know, we went through a major project with developing Buckland Park. It was massive, and you know, we had our accountant at the time sort of on the board because we dealing with a bank was really critical. It was critical for them to know the business intimately. We're negotiating that. We had a lawyer was, you know, so these people bring general business skills, but they also helped us you know, sort of, you know, get through the mire of the planning, you know, the planning process and stuff like that. So having those people giving them an involvement in the broader business, you know, they like experience with being, you know, so you can give people experience of being on a board, you know, that kind of thing, which helps them and helps. You know, helped us. So yeah, like you go through and adjust it as you need. And if you know, like our bank has comfort because we have a board and we have that
educated board as well.
Have that rigor, and it's not just, you know, the mad entrepreneur or the family. You know that sort of, there is that a bit of rigor and discipline. So you know, that kind of thing.
I think I've probably got an opinion because I've only been involved in boards that aren't necessarily business related. So. I guess association related boards where it's very underskilled. The only people that said yes are the ones that are on the board. So I haven't actually experienced it from
so I wouldn't put ours as a conventional, and our, you know, we've had a formal board now for 2 decades. And it's been different.
And you wouldn't be where you are today if you didn't have that board? Is that fair?
No, I think, you know, I look back shortly after we put the board together. First we had, like, you know, we've had some tough years since, but arguably the toughest year I'd ever been, you know, like really, really tough. And some people might say, well, that's because you put a board on. And, you know, but the year after, we had our best year. And I think it just helped us you don't put this stuff together when you've got bad times. You try and put it together
before,
so plan for the worst and hope it doesn't happen.
To use it.
So, you know, I think that's what sort of worked for. But that's the beauty of running a business. Like, you know, you'd have people, you know, who complain about how so and so runs their business, and you go, that's the beauty of having your own business. You know, people go,
you can do what you want.
Clint, I can't stand how he does this. You know, this sort of thing, but it's your business, and
the market will decide whether or not that's right or wrong.
Yeah. Well, you might, your interest in your business is not necessarily just about the dollars and cents and the bottom line.
Yeah.
But if that isn't there, you can't do
That's right.
this.
I use it to feed the ego.
Yeah.
The money feeds my desire to have the media and the fun events and all that, and then you get natural growth anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm that guy. I see people running their business where it's only about the money. I'm like, how do you do that? But it's just different.
Well, and you come across someone like it, you don't like other people telling you what to do. And when your business is not going well, other people come and tell you what to do.
Yeah.
And so you got to have it as healthy as possible. So you
no
can,
one tells you what to do.
The better runs, that's what I sort of tell my team, the better your area is going, the more people will step away and let you do what you're doing. Even if they're not 100% sure where you're going, that they'll step. As soon as they'll come in and start nitpicking. And
I find it amazing when you start a business. Like I wrote this in a LinkedIn article recently, that the amount of people that give you business advice when you start a business, the amount of people that have never worked in a business or run a business that give you business advice is amazing.
Just like parenting.
Yeah, and I was thinking of that parallel when you were talking. Like, my parenting style is very unconventional as well, and most people would disagree with the way that I do some things. But with a business, that's, I guess, in 20 years we'll find out how my parenting went, and same with business.
Yeah,
it'll either be good or bad, but it's mine.
Yep, exactly.
So, do you find that a challenge in a family business, that it's not all it's not just because I can do whatever I want. Like, I could close this shop tomorrow. I don't have to answer to anyone. It's just do you like the fact that you've got the board and the support? Yeah,
so like multi-generational family business, but uniquely, Dad was one of 5, but Mum and Dad bought the business off of my grandparents and my auntie. So whilst it was multi-generational, there wasn't cousins and aunties and uncles.
And it wasn't just a inherited, like, keep getting split out.
Yeah,
like,
no, exactly. Yeah, so it was just... and it wasn't necessarily planned. It was just, there's no long term. We don't have a manual that this is how the Jefferies family needs to hand on the generational thing. But it was fortunate in that sense. There's not that additional complexity. But I spent a lot of time with Dad at work, and it looked lonely. Like, when you're there at 9 o'clock at night and you're trying to fix a machine, and I'm sitting in a tractor trying not to,
because it has to be up tomorrow, otherwise.
It just looked lonely, and I personally think, on sort of reflection, that the self-control or this is not. I'd rather having people around. So I had Dad, I had the I suppose mentors or board members, but my brother Marty joined the business, so he did the other path. He went to uni. I've got the looks and he's got the brains, so he did 2 degrees.
we'll get a clip of that and send it to him. He did 2 degrees.
Yeah, so he did. He's computer science and electrical engineering.
With the plan of coming back into the business, or he was going to run his own race?
No, I don't think I don't know. I think being he's sort of younger. So whether it was because I was already with Dad at work, he worked more about income for getting through uni and those kind of things, whereas I was just sort of wanted to hang out with
so you
Dad,
spent more time with your dad than he did at that.
But in a funny kind of way, it's now flipped around. He's not that I'm not connected to to Dad, but he and Dad are pretty connected into their motor
What's
racing.
the age gap between you and Marty?
Only 2.5, 3 years.
So my sister's 2 years.
2.5 years. So he joined the business at 30 full time. So and he joined in year 2, like 1999.
So you'd already done 10 years.
So he joined at 30. He joined in 1999, which is Y2K, and he was a computer
science guy.
So
what was his opinion? Do you remember him thinking that it was that we had to be worried about 2000?
Nah. Well, those people know Marty. He'll never die of a heart attack. He's not like I'm high strung and sort of stressed and anxious, and he's sort of like he's I don't stop talking. He'll give you 1-word answers unless you open that bottle and get it going, and then he'll be fine, which is great as a team because we're quite we're quite different. Yeah, we're quite different. So
you need your computer people to be composed.
Yeah,
like, we've got a full-time IT guy in a team of 12, which sounds weird.
Yeah,
and he's like head down. Every tea gets.
Yeah, We've got a full-time IT guy too, and he's also a managing director. So
yeah,
he's still, which is problematic. But
so when a printer stops working, he goes and fixes it. But he's also a managing director.
He doesn't. No, printers wouldn't be his thing, but he does do. He's a bit more. He does software.
Because that's what happens when Jaron. If a printer runs out of ink, it's no one else's problem but Jaron's. It's so funny. And I remember even when I worked at Newton's, there was someone who was in charge of computers, and someone can change ink, but they'd be like, "Printer's out of ink." It's like, can you just change it?
Yeah,
there's more things going on.
Exactly. It's like when in the toilet the paper roll runs out.
Ring the admin,
and it's like there's an alarm goes off, and that sort of thing. So I think like for me, I'd much prefer to share that than. Whilst I get frustrated because I can
imagine you've got an idea and you can't get it through.
But 9 times out of 10 or 99 times out of 100, it works out better having that pressure of,
because you have to do your due diligence. You can't just run with an idea.
Yeah, you can't just, run with it and then you make it better because other people put into it and that kind of thing.
And you want to serve that as a better option straight away.
Yeah. So it's not just easy for you. It doesn't, it makes better. Definitely, I think makes us want to do better things. But also it's not as like you share. You share stuff. Marty and I don't talk a lot about it, but you just know they're there. And and when big stuff happens, you're not alone.
It's an interesting perspective because I just don't know any other way, and you don't know any other way. Like unless you've gone and ran a business on your own, which I don't think. Obviously, you've gone straight in. It's all you know. And I have had a partnership, but it wasn't a family partnership, and I didn't like it. Our values weren't in line. The way that he wanted to run the business was completely different to me. Both of us could run a business well. It just wasn't going to work. So that's the only, I guess, experience I've got to draw from. So it's interesting to get some perspective from someone who's actually, you don't really have, well, you've got a choice. You can go do your own thing. But
it is. I think being, I don't think we would be good partners with other businesses that are doing joint ventures because family businesses are different.
Because you're all together.
Yeah, so I think...
And you grew up in the same house, so you and Marty must have similar values around...
Yeah, so I think that's... But also, like, in your business partnership, does the business come first or does the partnership come?
And none of that was ever discussed.
Yeah, whereas in a family, like... It's not. Does the business come first or does the family come first? Well, the family.
Yeah.
Our mum since passed away, and that was a big thing. She gave to us is about looking after each other.
Yeah.
So that it's just not even discussed. Yeah. And so that whereas
I think
in someone who you met, and even if you'd known them for 5 or 10 years, and when you go into business, it's it's different.
Yeah.
So I think in family business it would be. I think that's where potentially the non-executive board person can help for a smaller business like that because they don't buy into the business. So you're still got that, but
they just give you an opinion.
Yeah, but if you actually, it's a commercial thing. So you go, you're going to do a day a week, a day a month, that whatever, and I'm going to pay you. It might be pittance, but I'm going to.
Yeah.
And
an
just
acorn or a peppercorn.
Yeah, but the fact that they're giving up time for you, if they're decent people. And you keep doing the opposite of what you both sort of talk about doing. They're going to go, Clint, this isn't working out for me. Yeah. And you're going to have to make a decision. I really like that person's advice. So I've got to...
I trust it. I believe,
There's no point having someone coming and supporting you and not doing what they...
Well, that's the thing. There's no point paying for advice than not listening. And that's...
Well, I think, again, your podcast and what you're trying to do here is to support... that landscape, which is just awesome, unique, but most of those businesses are pretty small.
Very, and that's why I tried, and it's really important for me to try and think of things to talk, like I said to DK, I need to talk to you about things that are going to bring them value, but I also need to make sure that you get value out of doing something like this, and you probably don't. You're like, look, I'm enjoying the process, and I'm not here to sell anything. This is really just an interesting way to kind of deliver. Yeah,
so I think for them... Like you listening to your podcast, you're not the only one of those types of businesses that started in a partnership. And some of them ended amicably, some of them ended not well,
and some people are loving it.
Yeah, so I think, but it is lonely. Like most of these sort of guys and girls are on tools, they're working. Then at night time they're doing their books and stuff like that. And I think, mentors, or whatever you want to call it, it's been the single biggest thing that's helped my career, and helped me make the most out of that time, I suppose, sort of, if you know what I mean.
I've tried to kind of spend more time with other business owners that are at my level or above, to try, even if it's not a mentorship as such, but it's a network of people that you can call on.
So your mentor you mentioned before, was that through a mentoring, like was that through some?
So my business coach. So that was, so basically how it all came about. Rob Cooper, who owns Distinctive Gardens, gave me a book called Built to Sell, which is a really, really good book for anyone that's starting out, even if they don't plan to sell their business, but around building it as if you were. And then that funneled me into this, like, fill out a thing, and so because we were turning over, I think 3 million or under 3 million, I got contact from this business coach, and then we started a 5-year coaching relationship where I would go, like, it became 5 years. It was a month by month. I could have left at any time, and I paid, and then we met once a month, looked at our figures, and I learned a lot through that process, but then I outgrew that. I felt I wasn't looking forward to going to the meetings. I didn't care, and it was really hard for me to stop, because I felt like we'd connected a lot, and we're still in touch. He works. He's a partner at the firm that my accountant is with. So,
but it's hard. Like as a young kid, like our first board person, he used to tell me that my job here is to make myself redundant.
Yeah.
But we stayed too long.
Yeah.
I had to do that conversation.
Yeah.
And as a young person, sort of say that to their
mentor.
That's
that was a really hard conversation.
But it's also taught me a lot as well.
Those two, dissolving a partnership was one of the hardest things I ever had to talk about, and then I guess firing a business coach was the harder. I find that and I've written about this before, that I think a mentor needs to be non-paid. I think it needs to be someone that genuinely wants to help, someone that genuinely wants help. I don't know if you've got a view on that, whether or not there should be money changes hands. I think that when there's money changing hands, it could be treated differently as a mentor, not as a board member. But I don't know, do you have a view on that?
I think it's both. I think just like you went through a process that would look to be setting up for coaches and stuff like that. There can be, you see someone in your field who's experienced, and you want to learn what they do, and you go and tap them and say, can I buy you dinner for once a month? So like I've got what I call mentors that I catch up with once a year, every 3 months, and buy them dinner. I've got people I would consider mentors who we pay on our board, and it's
whatever's right for that.
I think don't get hung up about what others think, just what's got to work for you. And,
I think
if it's not working,
about paying for help in some spaces, because there's a lot out there that's
depends what you're asking. Yeah, exactly. So I think like none of our mentors or board members have come through. They've come through.
They're not from a Facebook funnel.
They're running a business, and we're saying, can you, and they go, I have no time, but I'd love to do it. And and I think having that financial sort of, it's not big. Yeah. But it doesn't make me feel guilty about rushing through a meeting, if you know what I mean. So like if I'm, if you're there, if you're going, look, I value your time. And I want to take it beyond just dinner or whatever, and I'll, that kind of thing. I think having that, and look, at the end of the day, it's up to them to say, look, don't worry about it.
I spoke to DK about it, that I need to get past that, because my fear of getting ripped off for help is holding me back from actually getting any help. So, and we talk about mistakes as business owners and how much money it can cost you to make a mistake. The amount that it would really cost is nothing. Even if you paid someone thousands for help, if it didn't work, it's okay.
Yeah, and that's not against, like, there's an enormous amount of great business advisors out there, so that's fine, but none of ours have been business advisors. They are like people who are, you've met Paul, our current, chairman, so, he runs businesses. And he's not a, but we spoke to him about joining.
Business coach.
He owns businesses, and
they're the people I want to be working with.
Yeah, so that's, I think, you either got to work it out. Some people will go, look, I'd love to, Clint, but let's just do the dinner a month. I
need to spend more time on it.
And others
I haven't really thought about it a lot lately.
And others will do, but, and I think getting back to, your audience with, landscapers, I just think get out there and ask people.
Well, I've had 2 landscapers ask me, and I've said yes. And they've said, "Can I help? Can I come to you when I need to?" I'm like, of course you can. And I don't want anything in return.
Yeah,
because I enjoy helping.
How do you I assume they can call you any time?
Ad hoc. I'm not doing structured meetings. I never will. I don't. It's not suitable for my behaviour. I can't even do structured meetings when I'm asking for help. So I just said, I'd rather you just ring me when you're stuck. Yeah. And if I might be able to help and I might not. Yep. I've also got informal relationships where they've never actually asked if they can, but they just call me. They're like, "Hey, what would you do here?" Yeah. I love it. I enjoy talking about business. For me, this is a game that I love playing. I kind of like Monopoly. I just want to collect as many hotels as I can. And along the way, the amount of people that you get to meet and the relationships that you have, I just love. So that's why this podcast is so good.
In positive influence.
I could do this all day, and then just get in the car and go home. I don't want to do paperwork. It's not my style. Yep. So, all right, now we're at you, Jefferies. Jefferies' core business is it recycling? Would you say that?
Yeah, we sort of talk our purpose or core business is creating value from organic resources. So, so it's a bit of a technical work, but basically, organics from a lot of the time when we were growing up all went to landfill. Yep. And just a, waste of resources. And in South Australia where it hasn't rained it's good for an irrigation business because you've got to get the water where you need no rain in that sense, but we also need to have healthy soils and organic matter in the soils and those kind of things. So so we create value from that resource. So it's a pretty unique business. So and it's a business model. So a significant part of our income is that we charge a recycling fee. So we don't buy raw materials like you've got in the shop here. When you sold all out of those widgets, you ring up your supplier and get more, that kind of thing. So we have contracts and people who bring organics to us, or we charge a fee for taking that. So the alternative was it could have gone to landfill, or you bring it to us.
So they might pay you at a lower than landfill rate, so it's good for them, and then it's good for you, and everyone's
generally
happy.
That's how that that works. Some of our we have a commercial food collection business, so we collect. I think it's nearly 1,000 enterprises a week. We collect commercial food from, and some of that model is the landfill is just such a infiltrated infrastructure. It's cheaper to send it to landfill, so people are
because they just tip it.
But they're doing our customers are doing it because they believe it's where we've got to go. Or their customers are demanding it, or a lot of the time it's their team, their employees are saying.
It's a very you want to do it because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah,
there's people out there that actually do care. As cynical as the world can be, but
well, and most of us do it at home. We do it. We've got our 3 bins at home and those kind of.
Well, we grew up. In schools learning about. I mean, maybe not as much when you were at school. I don't know, but I don't want to be rude around age. But
we all grew up with 10 cents or 5 cents. So we all grew up.
You understood that.
So that just from a litter perspective, we grew up in Adelaide. You'd go to the footy, and it wasn't people cleaning up; it was kids walking around and cleaning that sort of stuff up or whatever. And you just have to drive on the roads, and you go over the border, and there's just a higher number of. So I think South Australians have always been pretty strong on the. It's not a waste; it's it's a resource. So we derive income from that, and then we sell compost soil and mulch products to a range of markets out the other end. So the aim is the combined income is greater than the combined costs.
Yeah, and then you have a business.
And then we have a business, and that's the challenge. But the challenge also is balancing those, because if we sell out of everything, we don't ring our supplier to get more because it's a resource that we're sort of managing and
so do you have to hold a volume of stock for that purpose?
Like any manufacturing process, we're trying to forecast, but we're forecasting what we've got. We can't you're adjusting and trying to maximize that value from that material.
All that stock's also holding up land, which is worth money that could be used for something else.
And it's also stock that's living. So it's
got a shelf life as such.
Whether it's got a shelf life, you need to manage it. So you can't just sort of put it in the warehouse and come back in 10 years' time. It varies in that sense. So so it's great to you get out of bed to grow your business because you're passionate with the business. So, you know, I'm similar in that space, but it's great to get out of bed and do something that, you know, makes a difference.
This is actually genuinely going to change the world.
To the bigger, to
whereas
the bigger.
I'm probably damaging the world, but it's okay. We sell so much plastic.
But I think, you know, what you're selling is water efficiency.
That's right.
And water is, you know, they say the future wars will be fought over water.
And the stuff we sell has a longer life than its, I guess, contemporary product.
Well, if you're selling premium product, that's what you got to do.
It's the same amount of plastic being engineered better, so it'll last longer.
Yeah,
so.
But as an industry, I'm sure there's discussions around that. Well, when that's finished with, it can go back and be recycled. Like, you know, the irrigation sector takes an enormous amount of recycled plastic to make its product. So,
like at the Atlantis grow wall that we sell, they take on, I think they buy more recycled plastic than anyone in the world. Or in Malaysia maybe, but there's so much, and that's a great thing because it can be, you know, poly can be melted down.
One of the most common contaminants we get are 240 litre wheelie bins, because, you know, the truck,
whole bin.
Yeah, because the truck picks it up, and sometimes they sometimes fatigue and they slide into the back of the truck, and once it's there, so they come out at our end, and we pull them out, and that gets recycled into irrigation.
I was gonna ask what was. I guess what's the craziest thing that you guys have found in a truck? Because I've seen on your Facebook page, it is mental the amount of things that you find, like hundreds and hundreds of different things, like kids' Barbie dolls, and like, is there anything that really stands out, or that you've had to call the police about?
Well, I've been a bit nervous about you when you get into, so what do we do with social media? Because I've got
you don't know.
Just no. Like I was sort of pretty hooked on Twitter there for a very, very long time, and I had a feed running that was 101 things not to put in your green bin for compost. So
that's what I'm referring to.
So that's 5 years old since we stopped that, and I think we got to 190 or something like that. So just a whole array of things, which was great and topical, but also, you know, we we wanted to sort of focus on 101 ways to use compost. But look, you think of it. I was going to bring up in my office. I've got some of the things that I've pulled out. So I've got, you know, a broken cup that was sort of quite unique. I've got this massive excavator tooth that just would smash, you know, do a lot of damage to the machine. I've got a wallet, you know, scissors, knives, money, ashtrays, you know, just that. And that's I've got a a beer, but, you know, that's just all sorts of different.
When you go to those, when you go to the bottle and can recycling yards, and they've got all their unique things that they've found up on the wall.
Like so I've got that there, but it's a bit different to yours. So we've had people, you know, sort of realise that they've put their keys in the keys have slipped into the bin, and one person I remember they worked it out on the day of the collection, and so the truck hadn't unloaded, and they came down, and it was I can't remember what car, but it was a European car, and so the keys were worth $800 or something like that for new ones. So they went through and we found the keys and stuff like that. Wow. So it's not it's a challenge with the recycling, but as I tell our team that if it was easy, anyone would do it. So, you know, like that's, you got to try.
It feels like a market that once you have, it's hard to take. Like, you've got contracts to take waste. These are relationships that these guys aren't going to want to mess around with. I can't imagine someone having enough land, cash, relationship development ability to come in and take your market. Like, it feels like there's a big moat around the castle.
There's a high barrier to entry.
Yeah.
It's capital intensive. It's highly regulated.
Yep.
In that sense. So it is. You know, it's a big barrier.
Which feels like it can take a generation or two to get it to the size. Like it would. It's probably a reassuring moat around the castle.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, like when you're sitting in your business, you got that, and you got that yin yang about opportunity.
Someone's going to come and take us.
Yeah, not so much that. It's just how can you make that business model work, and how can you make our business is growing, but our costs, like lots of businesses, are growing at a greater.
We have a lot of trucks. I've seen some of the machinery you've got is pretty insane as well. Like you've got the Is it
Ross.
The road turns?
Yeah, we got like compost turners, and like we, when we sit down at board meetings, we always get a very big tick for spending money. We're very good at spending money.
And they're like 7-figure machines in some cases, 6-figure.
Yeah, look,
it's a lot.
Front end loaders are $400,000 without, and that's just
that's just a car to you guys.
Just for
some businesses.
Yeah, it's just so part of it. But managing. Managing what you spend there and how you do that.
Is it a focus of the family and the board to reinvest in research and development a lot? Is that a big part?
Yeah. There's two things with that. There's doing that, but then there's also capturing and our business has evolved on R&D, and like Dad would buy obscure machines. Then he would work it himself, and then very quickly these obscure, he'd know more about it than the people who manufactured it, and they would come out and he knew how to break it, he knew how to fix it, and all those kind of things. And then some of those were at the bleeding edge, we were too far out, and we, it just took too long. But it did, very much, I think, fill a brand for us that we're, like innovators in that.
Well, that's why I asked, because in front of my mind is Jefferies are all about like finding a better way to do it, and they're happy to spend money if it means that it's going to be a better way to do it. Like that's.
I think that's helped us enormously, not only in a business sense, but with regulators and stuff like that. That we, we don't talk about it, we do it.
Yeah, and then talk about it.
Yeah, and then if we do that and it doesn't work out, we'll be open and talk about that. So I think definitely. So we've done it without sort of going, oh well, that's R&D. So. We actually are, and we had a board meeting last week, and we've just, adjusted or tried to condense our key KPIs, and actually having an R&D spend is a KPI. Yep. So to actually consciously go, okay, this is the business today, but we're going to spend on the business, for tomorrow in this area, and those kind of things. So.
Grundfos is a company that we deal with who are multi-generational. Mm-hmm. They also turn over something like $3.6 billion a year. They had the original founder created I don't know if it can be done anywhere else, but in Denmark they've created this kind of trust, a 99-year trust where family members get distributions. The company can't be touched, it can't be sold, it can't be broken up, and they really spend something like 70% of their profit on research and development, and it just stays there.
Well, I think
and it's so beautiful. Just
I think Red Arc, which is a South Australian, really successful.
Yep.
Electrical business, I think theirs is 15% of turnover or profit. It's significant. It's like
it's how you got there. Yeah. A lot of times people get somewhere and forget how they got there, and then they're too cool or they're too big, and then everything changes.
No, I think it's really important.
And that could be a risk for a company like yours if you had a CEO that was KPI'd on the wrong things. That could change quite quickly. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, it's a real. It's about family business, or entrepreneurs often make decisions that are not just about that bottom line or whatever, but they make a decision that
they're legacy decisions.
We've got a number of them, and I'm still waiting to come through for
the tree to grow tall enough to be shady.
No. So
the you mentioned that you've listened to our podcast. That's we got talking at the Landscape Awards. Yep. Are there any other podcasts that you listen to that you find that you get great value from, that our audience might be interested in? Business owners?
Oh, look, my kids are thrilled because I think I've come this morning to talk to Richard Feidler. So, from Conversations, which is, so we listen to, we love that. We love a road trip and listen.
How old are your kids?
11 and 8.
Okay.
So, so they, some of them some of those are maybe not 11 and 8 year olds, sort of information you want to share.
I have Gary Vee playing and my 5-year-old's there.
Yeah.
If you heard his language.
Yeah, no, I've listen to him. So I like Conversations because it's stories of real stories about people.
Yep.
And
I've never heard of it.
Yeah,
I'm very single-minded with podcasting though.
So Conversations is Australia's most popular downloaded podcast. So it's ABC and so there'll be stories that I'll be interested in about business. There'll be stories that I'll be interested about life, and there'll be stories that I haven't. I quite often I'll be driving and I can't work out, and I just put one on, and it'll be It'll be something like something obscure that I just get hooked
you're stuck in
and I'll be, rocking up to a meeting and I can't get out of the car because I just want to listen to, even though it's a podcast and I can play, but I just want to listen.
I get that. I can stop and play. I still sit there and listen to the last 3 minutes. I have to.
So I do that. Like I just love what you guys do because there's a podcast for largely our market, and whether one person listens to it or 101 or 1,000. I don't mind.
There's no KPI for us. Yeah. Like, we got caught. I was trying to work out how many people had listened to it. I don't even know. Like on the Spotify app, we were trying to work out how to download the data. I just don't know. And then I said to him, "Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter." Like,
yeah, but I think what you've done is you there's that amount of time where you just got to earn your stripes, the 10,000 hours and that sort of stuff, and I think so. People say find a niche and specialize in it, and that's what you should do. So and it's not just because I'm here. I love listening to that because it's so connected to what
we don't get much. No one tells you when you're doing good. And you find in business, especially, you talked about your dad having those lonely days. No one comes and tells you that you're doing good. People will tell you when you're doing bad. And the media will be all over you guys if something negative happens. But no one's talking about the 50 or 60 staff that you guys keep employed. Over long term and all that kind of thing. So
I think that there's the Entree Leadership podcast, which is
what's it called?
So Entree Leadership. So that's, I've heard Gary V on that one. So that's a business one. I'm really desperate to try and find business related Australian or it's not against American, but so much stuff is out of America, and it is different. They talk,
Well, we find that with Rainbird. Rainbird are a US owned, still family owned business, massive business, and they send over a bunch of merchandise for the Australian market, and I'm like, no one's going to wear this. It's not our market. It's just different, and that's not bad. It's just different. So I get that, and I listen to so much Gary V. I've got no more content. So I need to know those next podcasts.
So Entree Leadership has got Gary V, but it's got Jim Collins. It's got a broad range of stuff there. So it sort of gives you a taste of those. I'm going to see a guy called Patrick Lencioni talk in Sydney next month, and he's a sort of organisational health specialist, and I was arming and ahhing about whether to see it or not, so he's spoken on that podcast, so I listened to
that locked you in.
Yeah, it was just to go, is it going to relate to me or not, and that kind of thing. So
you only regret the things you don't do.
To
a point.
So
do you what mulch do you use at your house?
Well,
what soil condition, or what do you? I don't know. I don't want to be disrespectful with the word, but
So you talk about R&D. So that's where R&D. We've got poor Leah. My wife hates it because we've got all these different mulches.
So they're all next to each other. So your front yard's a bit of forever red.
It's a little bit like the mechanic who's always got a broken down car, and you've probably got no irrigation at your house. So
it's above ground. It's staked.
So but I must admit I'm passionate about gardening. I like veggie gardening. So not
so productive
so
gardening. Not just visual.
Yeah, so much whereas Leah's family's she's an ornamental gardener, so and I'm largely the labourer, so I enjoy spreading mulch and compost. So I use lots of compost, and then there's I've got lots of different mulches that I sort of throw around, and Leah's a plant person, so she likes more plants than mulch and that kind of thing. So
Recover was a product that I always used. At every house that we've had, it was always Recover. It was just, I found it was.
Well, it's good you called it by so many people call it so many different names. Recovery and
keeping in mind, I did sell mulch for a little while. Like I've got a connection to Jefferies. When I was working for Newton's, I was heavily irrigation because that's where I'd started. But
But you worked with Nathan, Nathan and all that sort of stuff.
And because of the position I was in, I had access to Nathan. Yeah. So as much as there were more mulch was getting sold by the staff, I was having those high level conversations around the marketing and whatever else. And
Jefferies Recover's still the most popular, mulch, but like the people like those coloured, the Jefferies Forever range. It's not for me, but people love those, the coloured ones as well.
I preferred Recover because I knew that it was doing something good as well as it's looking good. So
does both things. So,
is there anything that you want to, I guess, mention that we haven't talked about? Is there anything that you want to let, I guess, our audience know that Jefferies are doing at the moment, or maybe stop putting Barbie dolls in your recycling bin? I don't know what.
Look, I suppose if you've got things that you think they should be asking, from a recycling perspective, which is not necessarily your audience, but something I'm passionate about, is that, we've got to think about what we buy.
Yep.
So not just consume. We've got to think about what we buy. We've got to think about what we buy that can it be reused or, can it be recycled? And then if we are recycling, think about it, so the Barbie doll doesn't go to make great mulch, so put in that. But the same, there's been a lot of news lately on the yellow bin, because China used to take all of our yellow bin, which is highly contaminated. They've stopped. Even yesterday I saw that a few councils in Melbourne are having to landfill that material, and so much of this process, humans touch it, so our people,
we're the ones putting them in the bin.
But also, so we touch it as we can think about where it goes, but also at the other end of the our people have to then deal with that. And, we don't have too much manual stuff anymore. We use sort of technology with processing, those kind of things. So, but in a lot of those, your yellow bin, it's people manually pick that stuff out. So, think as a human,
so it could be your brother or your mother, or
be considerate to those sorts of things. So, but I'm really excited about that, and I think the landscape sector is just in an awesome space. I think we can play a role in sustainability. Yep. So, we used to talk about closed loop, but now everyone talks about the circular economy. Yep. So, having
Carl talked about that when
and Carl gets it. It's and he's excited about it, and that I love that there's a multi-generational business that's so pumped about.
And you've got another brother that you didn't.
Yeah, but it's just but they're in the new. They're in that they want to now's our time. We can. In the landscape sector, we can use, and it might not just be compost soil or mulch. It might be you can use recycled concrete. Yep. You can use those resources in your projects, but also you're creating green space.
Yep.
And, that's all people are desperate for green space to sort of because they're looking at screens so often. They've got to try and find. You got your green wall here, and having that.
It's actually quite nice. This office. I didn't have this office for a long time, and it's nice now to have it back. This is where I work, so I don't actually have an office. I just work from here, to actually have some natural light and
that. And there is, I'm not, trained enough to articulate the benefit of that, but there are plenty of studies to show how connection with, that helps you.
Yep.
Through your health, your mental health, physical health, and all those kind of stuff, and well-being, let alone cooling and all of that sort of stuff. Every development, and again, most of, the landscape people listening will know that every development, the green part of it is a key. Is a key feature.
It's a key requirement for so many reasons, isn't it? Like the council are demanding it now. The developers are aware that they are you right? Yep. The developers are aware that it's going to help them get more money so that there's an actual economic reason to be doing it, and it's just nicer, I guess. You feel good about. I was just thinking when you were talking, we stayed at in Cairns, on a beachfront property with the palm trees between the sand, like we had grass, palm trees, sand, water, and for me working in that space. And I'd do that for the rest of my life. Just sit there and work from there with that as my view.
Yeah.
I think, obviously, you talk about the connection with plants. I think we have a connection with water, obviously, being so... we're such a high component of... water's such a big part of who we are.
Well, it's so important to our, to our life. Livelihood. So, I think it's a really exciting... time to be in that space, and to...
You feel like you've got a responsibility in your business as a
responsibility,
a big cog in that wheel,
or opportunity.
You look at it as a positive more than a negative.
Yeah, look, I think responsibility is, we should try to take something and pass it on to the next generation in better state than it was. I love it talking with the wine sector, and you go to Henschke's, and they've got vines that are over 160 years old. Yep. So these, so they don't look at they own that vine. They're looking after it.
They're custodians.
Exactly. So,
and we should look at the earth that way.
Yeah. So it's a big shift.
It feels like it's coming to a point, like a tipping point, where a larger percentage of humans care than don't. Like it feels. I mean, I know all humans care, but everyone's like, it's okay. It's just one straw, or someone else will take care of it. It feels to me like it's about to go off, and there's more people are going to be like, no, we need to do more. We need to do more. We need to do more.
I don't know. Like it's hard because again in social media you generally follow who you think that everyone's on the same page, and then it's the same as you, but you generally you're following people who are like-minded in that sense. So. Whether there's momentum, there's more one way or more the other. I'm, not necessarily that sure about that. I think you just gotta focus on your little corner of the ship or the planet, and hopefully someone else is doing.
And everyone else, if enough people are focusing on
theirs versus sort of changing the whole lot. So
some people want to make a dent in the universe? Isn't that what the quote was? But
I think I think you got to have purpose and get you out of bed in the morning to do something. So
cool. And no new products, nothing like that's coming out at the moment. It's
we're building a fertilizer plant at the moment. So
an organic fertilizer.
Well, yeah. So the first product will be organic certified.
Yeah.
So it'll all be organic based. Yep. So, but a lot of the market is still. Just our farming market is still conventional. NPK. Conventional. So we'll use, an organic base to, to carry all those other inputs. But we're passionate about, that sort of sustainability and using what Mother Nature sort of developed versus what maybe the last 50 years of human race has sort of chucked into there. But we're not, it's to use best of both worlds. But fertilizer plant we're pretty excited about, and then we're also building what's called a biochar plant, a biochar plant.
Biochar, no T.
So biochar from a historical perspective is what they sort of call the Amazonian forest. Is the villages used to burn for millions and millions of years, and there's this biochar or this charcoal in the soil there that makes that soil got amazing properties to do what it does. But biochar is burning carbon with minimal or no oxygen, so it's very slow, high heat. And composting, so if you're recycling your compost, that compost goes on your garden, and then over the next year or two, most of it ends up either through the plant into the atmosphere, which is a natural, sort of carbon cycle. Whereas biochar, the carbon is in a locked up form for hundreds of years. So from an environmental perspective, people are excited about biochar, about taking carbon out of the atmosphere and then locking it up into the soil. So
then the plants filter it back into the atmosphere.
So the plants it doesn't have any nutrient, so it's not, the plants don't use it, doesn't, it conditions in a sense that if you look at under a microscope, it's like honeycomb, or
so it gives air to the soil.
So it holds moisture, holds air. It's a home for the microbes and all that kind of thing. It's agronomic.
So you'll make this.
Yep.
Biochar.
So we'll make it, but it's multi-pronged, which is why it's so exciting. So it's burning.
Yep.
But with low oxygen, so it creates heat, and so from that heat we will run a generator and power our whole sort of Buckland Park operations. So
and you think you'll get enough power to do that?
Yeah, so it's a project we've been working on for like 10 years. So when you talk about R&D, we've been working on waiting for the technology to get to a point that we can,
that it's viable.
Yeah, and it's not that's a $3 million project, so it's a significant significant project. So you sort of don't want it to go.
You can't just have the payback of the electricity be the only benefit either.
No, and you don't. In Australia, the model is not to create electricity to put into the grid, because you don't get paid anything for it. It's about offsetting, so you don't have to buy electricity. So it adds to the process of what we're doing about creating and then operating sustainably. It's going to be linked with the granule, the fertilizer plant, so that will use its power, but also hopefully use the heat to dry the granules, because we use the drying and all that sort of stuff. So that's a project. We started as an R&D project with funding from the state government with, I don't know if you've heard of the No-Till Farmers Association, so SANFA. So no, it's a massive group, like 80% of dryland farmers are members of this group where they don't plough the fields, they use technology. And so they were looking at ways of using the sort of offal or the wheat and hay they don't use and that kind of thing. So we did a project with them looking at technology and trying to make a business case, but at that time it wasn't viable, but we've just kept working on that. So that'll hopefully be in place in the next 6 months, which is
that's really cool.
Yeah, pretty exciting. So
if obviously you've done tours, you do tours all the time of the facility. If anyone was interested in that, is the best way to be involved, I guess, if they're a landscaper, to be involved in the Landscape Association and come through that way? Or if someone wanted to come and have a look at the facility, are you open to that? Or
so I think
try to stick with groups? Or?
I think with landscapers, just give us a call and we can,
if they want to see something specifically, talk to their representative or whoever they're dealing with.
Or just contact me. You can't just rock up, but talk to me. But if you're if you're in a community group, like so many councils now do tours, and they do tours of because they're trying to educate people. So we would have. We have schools and community groups.
Good for the Mawson Lakes Gardening Club, DK.
Every day, so I think they have toured.
I did talk through them recently. They booked us 12 months out. I was like, this is a very well organised gardening club.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Is there a quote or mantra that you continue to come back to or that you live by that comes to mind? I ask everyone this. I'm aware of that. I don't really have one. Like I love that stuff, so I sort of don't, one that's stuck with me for a long time for some reason. I reckon it's George Washington. It's something like, you can achieve anything in life if you don't need to take the credit, and that sort of, I think is quite powerful in what our political, what's wrong about the system. Okay. So generally, it's deep as well. I'm thinking about it.
You can achieve anything in life if you don't need to take the credit, and I think that's really quite true. In work sense, I love never waste a good crisis. So crisis is an opportunity for change and to drive, because it's hard to So one of our past board members, that was one of his favourites, was never waste a good crisis. So and I read a bit about Robin Williams recently, and he's this, sort of like go easy on people. Everyone's fighting their own battles, and I think that's true. Like, we all get wound up in our own worlds, and as you've got kids and you see them grow, and you can see them starting to go with their own battles, as you just sort of looks at you sort of, I think you grow up thinking that everyone's got their shit together,
or everyone's the same as you.
Yeah,
whether or not that's good or bad, but
if they're the same as me, then you've got your own battle. Like, you think that everyone's not got battles and stuff they're dealing with and stuff like that. So, what's your favourite one?
There's so many. I'm just like quoted out, aren't I? Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good one is one that I've had to live by. Obviously, we've got our 12 values, and then I've started writing out I kind of mix up quotes and values as well, because do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're my values, but they're a quote. What else do we use? I don't know.
It's interesting because
stop asking me questions.
That Entree Leadership podcast, I haven't watched it because I sort of haven't wanted to hear what they have to say, but it's got a whole one on values, because again, it does.
You don't want to hear about it?
Well, it's just it's hard to work out. Like, it's sort of do you have a long list of values? Do you have 3 critical values? And are your values, sort of deep in here? Are they the business? And, you'd have the same thing. Do you look at Waterpro as, connected to you?
I do.
Or is it separate?
Yeah. So those 12 values are very much my values, and that's why it works, because I'm the CEO, director, whatever you want to call me, of the company. If I wasn't, they may need to change. And if the business grows to that next level, we may need to be a bit more flexible around using swearing in our values as the public eye starts to look at it more. So I started writing down my values. So I've got 4 there. Now we've got 12 there. And these are the 4 that have kind of come out. Be self first was one that I've really, really trying to be conscious of.
Mm-hmm.
So I've just been developing them in the background slowly. But I haven't got any other quotes. I'll have to come back to you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for coming in.
No problem. Thanks.
I really enjoyed this.
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone wants to, I guess all your Jefferies socials, are you social media active, Jefferies?
Yeah, so like it's not my area of expertise, but we are there. But look, again, like you with what you do with customers or people in the landscape sector, if again, don't be afraid to call, and the worst someone can say is say no.
And
so
you as a person, you're accessible. If someone
Yeah.
wants to talk to you, you're not precious about that.
No.
You'll reply to, yep, cool, that's right. I know sometimes you have to get to a certain level in your business where you need to protect your time a bit more. So
yeah, I'm not I think it's for me, it's I can decide who I can spend time
and then
with.
you can
I don't need to
the
tell
right
someone
person.
else to do that.
Yep.
So it's just easiest to talk on the
give you a
phone
call.
and go, look, great, we can talk about that, or that can't be be done. So not
All
a problem. No, it's good, and congratulations on getting the podcast running, and
Thank you for my present.
keep running. So
I don't get many presents, and you've given me 2 presents.
yeah, well, it's well, you got to read it first, and it might be a present.
Yeah, it's big words, big letters, no pictures.
It's not. It's about simplify. It's not about.
Well, the last
big
hard copy book I read before Built to Sell was The Twits.
Mhm.
So, well, not hard copy, but actual paper books.
Yeah, awesome.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.